سالكا سبل المعالي مخلصا ترجو من الرحمن رفعة منزلي شمر.
Fleeing from faith to faith. 40 ahadith on contagion and pandemics by Mufti Muhammad Taha Karan.
Chapter 2. Preventative Measures.
Hadith number 10. Eating with a leper. عن جابر بن عبد الله رضي الله تعالى عنهما أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أخذ بيد مجذوم فأدخله معه في القصعة ثم قال: كل بسم الله ثقة بالله وتوكلا عليه. رواه الترمذي. Jabir ibn Abdullah radiallahu ta'ala anhuma narrates that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam took a leper's hand, placed it in the bowl with him, and said, "Eat in the name of Allah, trusting in Allah and relying upon Him." Narrated by Imam Tirmidhi. Authenticity. Let it be said at the very outset that unlike the other ahadith in this collection up to this point, the authenticity of this hadith was called into question by the hadith experts. Indeed, Imam Tirmidhi included it in his collection, but he is at pains to immediately point out the defects in its transmission. Other experts like Imam Daraqutni concur. Acceptance of this position on the hadith's authenticity should lead to the closure of discussion. It would be fair, however, to point out that there is a difference in expert opinion on the authenticity of this hadith. Other experts like Ibn Hibban and Hakim accept it as authentic. Those who are not satisfied of the authenticity of the hadith clearly have no obligation to demonstrate how it squares with the rest of the ahadith in this chapter. That obligation resides with scholars who admit it to be authentic. Reconciliation. A number of pathways were advanced to reconcile the apparent conflict between this hadith and the rest. One approach suggests that it is a case of abrogation where one of the two attitudes towards physical interaction with a leper, avoidance as in the hadith of bay'ah and non-avoidance as in this hadith, abrogates the other. Imam Nawawi, however, points out that there is no abrogation. Abrogation would in any event require us to know which hadith preceded which, and that is unknown. He writes, "The correct view espoused by the majority of scholars, and aside from which there is no other viable option, is that there is no abrogation. The two instances must be reconciled by understanding the command to avoid contact with the leper and to flee from him as a recommendation and precaution, and not obligation, while eating with him was done in demonstration of basic permissibility. We learn three things from this. 1. Wherever precautionary measures are prescribed, they are at the level of recommendation and are not absolute and peremptory obligations. 2. Not abiding by the precautions do not within themselves constitute the commission of an unlawful act. As such, unless there are extenuating factors, non-abiders should not be condemned for committing haram. 3. When the purpose for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam doing something was to demonstrate basic permissibility, it indicates that no sin is incurred by doing it. It does not necessarily mean that this act should now be adopted as standard and continuous practice. This can be clearly seen in the hadith of urinating from a standing position. One explanation of this act, there are others, is that it was done merely to demonstrate basic permissibility. Finding in it justification for continuous practice is an obviously flawed approach.
شمر وكن للعلم دوما طالبا لا تيأسن ففيه عذب المنهل